today I'm going to look at a lot of things. We have the Massachusetts Democratic primary happening tonight between the Kennedy and Markey. So I definitely want to cover that. I think that will be really cool. And I finally got the screen sharing set up here so that I can live stream while also doing the screen setting, and I can also look at your comments. So I would love for y'all to ask some questions in the chat. I think right now we only have 2 viewers, but let's get the viewership up so that I can answer some questions and that we can have a good time. One thing that I'm always just keeping an eye on are the betting odds. I mean, these change literally by the hour, and we've seen recently that Trump has surged in the betting odds and that Biden has declined. And even just in the past like hour or so, we see that Trump's chances have actually gone up. Last time I looked at it, Donald Trump was at 48.5, so it was a 2-point difference. And now it's only a 0.5% difference, where we are within 5 points, which is or we are within half a percentage point, which is pretty crazy. So definitely something that we will look at going into the future. And looking at the predicted markets, we see a similar type thing, except which is pretty interesting is the predicted markets are a little bit more skewed. So we have Biden up by 10 percentage points. Right now, I trust the betting odds here because these betting sites, they're more established, and I think that they will have more volume on them for sure, so they're going to be more accurate. But we can see in many of them it's literally just even 50 50 50 50 50 52 51 51. And one thing that I say a lot, and I'll say it again, I do think that the betting odds are going to be more trustworthy than the polls. Polls just by their nature have some margin of error to them. But with the betting odds, it's where people are putting their money. And I mean, people are literally betting on the election like the stock market, and people aren't going to be dumb when they bet. So I think right now we have 6 viewers. Normally I can get up 25 to 30. So definitely tune in and tell your friends. One thing that's also pretty interesting right now, we see that Biden is up, I think, 68 to 31 in the 538 podcast, which is a lot higher than we've seen in the past. For Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump was at last 26 or 27. So he has been surging in every single metric, in the polls, in the models, and in the betting odds. In the betting odds, it's basically exactly even. But in the models that were very wrong in 2016, I think they might be wrong again. And I definitely want to look at the primary. I don't think we've seen any primary results yet. Let's see if we're going to get any results. I do think that Ed Markey is going to win. I know that that's not necessarily a hot take, because I think that's probably what everyone is predicting. But I think that would be like it would be a huge symbol in the Democratic Party, that I think there is a lot more energy in the with the progressive side, and that the Democratic Party from the Kennedy age back in kind of the 1960s has changed a lot. And let me just kind of look at the chats for a little while. Do I think that Biden's got it in the bag? By no means I think Biden's got it in the bag. Right now, I really think the election is like almost even as can be. Right now, I do think that Biden maybe has a slight advantage, but it is really coming down very, very fast. And if I was on the Biden campaign, I would kind of be in panic mode. Because right now all the trends are going in Donald Trump's favor, and I think we've seen Biden kind of change up his campaign a lot. What he had been doing previously is just kind of like staying in his basement and doing a lot of pre-recorded pre-recorded videos to kind of get out his message. But now he's started to have to do some like live rallies like that aren't obviously normal because the coronavirus. And I think he's going to have to do a lot more interviews on TV. Someone says, who do you think will benefit from the presidential debates? I think definitely that Joe Biden has more to lose in the debates. I think people kind of know what Donald Trump is going to be like, and people aren't going to be surprised. But I think there's a lot of variability surrounding Joe Biden and what he can do. Right now, this is I do think that the debates are going to happen. I know Nancy Pelosi even encouraged Joe Biden to step out of the debates. And while I do think Biden would probably benefit more from not doing the debates, I really think that he's not going to do it. Biden is like someone who's been in politics for a while, and I think he respects the conventions a lot, and that he's not going to step out of the debate. I think it would make him look really weak, and I just don't think that would be something that Biden would be willing to do. And I think that Trump is actually probably going to try to prepare a lot more for the debates than he did in 2016. In 2016, I really don't think that the debates really mattered that much. But I think in 2020 that they're going to be crucial. I think that a lot of swing voters are going to look in to see kind of if they think Biden is a competent person to be president. I mean, I think there are many people who might not like Trump, but they also just don't know if Biden is like fit to be president in terms of his mental capacity and other factors. Let's see. Do you think that the election result could hurt American unity and democracy if either side does not accept the results? Well, right now, just looking at it, I don't think either side is going to accept the election result on the day, because I think with voter by mail, it's going to be very messy, and no one is talking about this. But I think it honestly could take weeks for us to really know who is the winner. And I think that either side is going to probably try to like claim victory or claim voter fraud. I mean, I was shocked when I saw Hillary Clinton do an interview basically telling Biden not to accept the results of the 2020 election, even though that many times in 2016 this was a common thing that Clinton would do, is like try to say, oh, we can't trust Trump, he can't he's not going to accept when I'm going to win. He's going to claim voter fraud. So I thought that was very ironic, and I don't know if that reflects super well on Hillary Clinton that she said that. Let me look at the chat for a little while. Did you see Biden's yesterday? Yeah. Biden definitely, I think, has some struggles when he has to speak. He has had a stutter for a long time, but I also have a stutter, so I can kind of empathize with that, definitely. But I also think that Biden just isn't as sharp as he used to be, and I will definitely be interested to like look at like how much that his mental capacities have gone down. So right now I'm sitting at 9 minutes. I'm probably going to go for about 30 minutes today. I'm actually not 100% sure when we're going to get the primary results from Massachusetts. Frankly, I don't think it's going to be that important. I think Ed Markey is going to win, and that really it doesn't really matter. So right now we can see that we don't have any results, but let's see. Let me look at some of the chat. So we see Democrats are going to be really surprised if they think they have it in the bag. I definitely think that is true. I think that Trump has surprised a bunch of people, but I mean, I think just basically looking at the history, I mean, no one thought Trump was viable in 2016, and he came back. So even though Trump has been down in the polls and like with the George Floyd protests and with his coronavirus response, a lot of people think that Trump, um, there's no way he can win a second term. Um, I think that Trump is actually looking stronger right now than he has, and he's trending in the right direction for sure. I mean, looking at the betting odds right here, I mean, this is just striking. Right now, it's super even, 50.2 to 49.7. I mean, right now it's a dead even tie. And I think part of the reason for that is we are seeing polls coming out of like Georgia, for instance, and North Carolina. These are a lot different from before. And I mean, like people aren't dumb. I mean, where people put their money is, I mean, this is their money on the line. People care a lot about it, and they're betting on this election, and people are putting more money on this election for many reasons, because now it's like okay to bet. The betting laws have changed, and I mean, I think it's just striking that we were at like about a 24-point difference at the end of July, and now it's even. And if this trend continues, we're going to see Trump up again like he was in the betting odds. I would say kind of before kind of the Black Lives Matter protests took shape. All right, let's see. So I'm about 12 minutes into my forecast. So I'm going to be going to about 30 minutes if I can. I would really encourage y'all to do a super chat if you haven't yet already, just so that I can kind of see your chats and do some interaction with y'all, and so kind of have something to focus on so that you can do that. So I would really encourage y'all to do a super chat if you haven't, even if it's only for about like $2 or $3. And how you do that is just clicking the $ underneath the chat. Let me read kind of some of your all's questions right now. People in Texas and Florida who initially were mad about the response now love it because they want reopening. I think that potentially could happen. I really don't think Texas is a swing state at this point. I think that anyone putting money into Texas, I think the Biden campaign is. I think that's probably a waste of resources. I mean, maybe you're going to get very close from Biden's perspective, but if I were the Biden campaign, I would be invested heavily in states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin and Arizona, and same thing if I were the Trump campaign. But yeah, let's see. Betting odds take into account more factors than polls. Polls are just a snapshot of the present. I completely agree, because there is a lot of things that can happen in terms of the polls. Like polls can be biased, their sampling error can be wrong, but with the betting odds, we see that like people are accounting for a lot of things, like the demographics of a state, the historical voting trends. Some polls can be more biased than others, and the betting odds take that into account. And like people aren't dumb. I mean, how the stock market works. I mean, there's definitely bubbles, and there's definitely not necessarily rational behavior when looking at the stock market. But I've been very impressed with all of the markets, with the predicted and other betting sites, because I think where the betting odds right now probably reflect pretty accurately where this race is. I do think that Trump is going to win Georgia, Ohio, Iowa, and North Carolina. And I mean, right now we see that Florida is exceptionally close, Arizona, and Wisconsin. I mean, this race has changed a lot. Before we kind of had this dark shade of blue and the semi-dark shade of blue semi-dark shade of blue over the majority. But right now, we can see that all Donald Trump has to do is get 4 percentage points here, 6 percentage points here, and 7 percentage points here, and he's a win. And he's winning the election. All he needs is Florida, Arizona, and Wisconsin, and I do think that is his easiest path to victory. I think Minnesota is going to be a lot closer than other people think too. Let's see. My dad does tell me that back in the Reagan and Clinton ages, he'd actually get polled. Nowadays, not really. I mean, I've heard this from a bunch of people. I've never done a poll in my entire life, and I am going to be voting in the 2020 presidential election. I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for, but I don't think polls can necessarily reflect where the race is in reality. I think in 2016 we saw that the polls can be wrong. The betting odds were also very wrong in 2016, but I think the betting odds are going to be a lot better going into 2020 because they saw that the polls can be wrong, and that's going to be priced in to the betting odds. So I think it'll be really interesting going forward if we see that the betting odds and kind of the polling averages become more similar, because that's one way that you can try to hedge and get an advantage by trying to kind of bet on the betting odds where you think there's a huge difference between the polls. Let's see. Also, a lot of older people I know have been complaining about the Democrats. They hate Harris. I mean, you hear it either way. I mean, people hate Trump or they hate Biden. Our country has become very partisan, so there's not a lot of people in the middle. And I think about 5% of people right now, of voters, haven't decided who they're going to vote for, and those are going to be the people that decide the election right now. So right now I'm about 17 minutes in. I'm probably going to go for about 30 minutes, and I haven't had any super chats yet, but I would really encourage y'all to do that if you haven't already, or you can donate to my Venmo. I'm trying to get a new microphone that I can use for my videos. And also, one thing that I want to do is start to buy some newspaper subscriptions like the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, so that I can kind of have some better research and better numbers and data that I can use when I'm doing my videos. Important factor in polling is the shy voter, probably a good 2% 3 bump in battlegrounds. And I definitely think this is going to be true. In 2016, we saw that the polls were off by about 7 points in Wisconsin, biased towards Hillary Clinton. So on election day in 2016, the polls had Biden up, or no, had Hillary Clinton up by about 6.5 points, and Trump ended up winning by about half a point. So I think that that'll be really interesting going forward to see kind of how biased the polls are in 2020. And I think looking at the betting odds, this is kind of already priced in. So we'll be interested going forward and seeing that. So I think right now, if Trump were to flip Florida, which I think is very possible, then he gets to 269. And looking at the Constitution in a tied electoral map, this would go towards Donald Trump because he would end up winning more states, and the House of Representatives would vote by state here. And I think it's very possible for Trump to win the 2nd district in Nebraska. He did it in 2016. I think it would be very possible for him to win it again. So if Trump only flips Florida, even if he loses Michigan and Pennsylvania, then he wins. In my video, it has Florida as going to Biden just because I think that's where it is right now. However, there's 9 weeks is a lot, and I think we've started to see closer polls in the state of Florida. In fact, I really want to look at that right now. I think we saw a poll out today that had Trump down by 2 points. And if we do kind of buy into this narrative that there is a bias against Trump in the polls and that there is a shy voter or shy Trump voter effect, then I think this will definitely could be good for Trump. But we will see. Just looking at the state of Florida, Let's see if this will load. We can see that the past 3 polls have us pretty close. So before we had Biden with an 8-point lead, and this is kind of like when Biden had this lead, I was like, there's literally no way that Trump can win without Florida. I mean, even if he were to win Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, Florida's 29 electoral votes. Now we're seeing it get closer. Now it's within like 3.7 points in the real politics average. I think Trump is going to have to improve a little bit. In the 2018 midterms, the polls were biased towards the Democrats by about 3 to 3.5 points. So for Trump to overcome this 3.7 point deficit, he's going to have to get it at least 1 point closer if we're looking at the 2018 midterms. And one other thing that I think will be pretty interesting is because Florida has a large elderly population, I'll be really interested to see how many vote by mail and how many vote in person, because I do think that the elderly population is kind of like at most risk of getting the coronavirus. So I'm at 21 minutes right now. Still haven't had any super chats, which is really disappointing. That's what I really like to do is get those super chats so I can kind of answer some more questions. So please do that. I mean, even if it's just for $1, that's something that I really like doing. And one thing is that I'll do is once you do that is reach out to you personally so that we can kind of like talk about politics, because I really want to kind of bridge connection between my viewers and people who tune into my channel on a regular basis. So, all right. Do you think Hillary would win in 2020 against a Republican challenger if she did win? I definitely do not think that she would. I think that people distrusted Hillary Clinton in the first place. And I think with the coronavirus, this would have really hit her. I don't necessarily think it's Trump's fault that the coronavirus happened. So, like, I think if Hillary Clinton were the president too, I think there'd still be a lot of quarantines and there's still a lot of lockdowns. And I think a lot of the anger that we're seeing right now, kind of you see in the reopen movements, I think that would be intensified even more under Hillary Clinton presidency. All right, guys. I mean, ask some questions. I'm here for y'all. I would love to and there's some questions. Let's see. I totally agree that if Biden wins in Florida, then I don't think that Trump has a path. I do think it is possible if Biden were to win in Arizona. I mean, and I'll do that right now. I mean, Trump definitely still has paths, like for example through Minnesota, or definitely through Pennsylvania here. I mean, if he wins Pennsylvania and Florida, I frankly think that Trump probably has more paths than Biden, because, I mean, even in this tied scenario, we see that Trump would win, and I've done a previous video on that. If Hillary won 2018, or if Hillary won 2018, would have been a giant bloodbath for Democrats, especially in the Senate. I actually completely agree with that too. So that'd be really interesting. If Trump wins Florida, Wisconsin, Arizona, he wins. I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, even if we look here, so if Biden were to win all these states, but Trump just wins Florida, Arizona, and Wisconsin, then he gets 270 votes. I don't see him winning Florida, Arizona, and Wisconsin, and losing North Carolina. So that's the only like kind of scenario. So let's look at this. I think Trump will win Nevada. I do not think he would win Nevada. No, the state of Nevada has actually been one of the states that's been biased towards Republicans in the polling. So Nevada was supposed to be kind of like a pure swing state in 2016, and Hillary Clinton actually outperformed the polls there, even though across the board basically outperformed the polls. So that's kind of like the one place where Hillary Clinton actually did better than a lot of people expected. All right, guys, I'm going to be on here for 5 more minutes, and if I don't get a super chat pretty soon, I mean, come on, guys. Normally I'm here getting some super chats from my friends, but how you do this feature is you click on the dollar sign right here. In fact, hopefully someone else can do it just to make sure that it works. It honestly might not work on this thing, but if someone would just want to test it out and put like $1 in there, that would be really cool to just see if that happens. But anyway, do you think Biden could win North Carolina but lose Florida? I don't think that'll be the case. I think North Carolina is to the right of Florida, and we've seen that for sure in the polls. So I don't think that will happen. And for Trump to win, he's going to have to win one of the Rust Belt states, whether it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. Frankly, Trump does not have a path unless he wins the Rust Belt. But I mean, this was considered Hillary Clinton's like blue wall in 2016, and so like people were predicting that Trump doesn't have a path because there's no way he can win the Rust Belt, and he did. I think that the Rust Belt is definitely not as strong of a blue wall for Biden in 2020 than it was kind of for Hillary Clinton in 2016, at least for like what people thought. And I think Minnesota will be a lot closer than people feel, or will be a lot closer than people think right now. Who would win, Ronald Reagan or Mitt Romney? That's kind of a stupid question, I think. But I think that Ronald Reagan was definitely a better politician in terms of like being able to connect with people. I think people thought that Mitt Romney was too elitist. I mean, he'd worked in like investment banking or consulting, and I think it was kind of hard for him to connect to some of the voters that like Trump won in the Rust Belt. And so that's what I'll say about that. All right, guys, I'm probably going to head off right now. I would love for y'all to please tune in to some of my future live streams. And I'll just answer this last question. What do you think of mail-in voting? Honestly, I think mail-in voting does leave open the door to voter fraud, but I totally understand that in these circumstances, there aren't really any other options. So, first of all, thank you so much, Chris Harwood. I'm glad that the super chats are working. What are the chances that President Trump wins Maine's 2 and Biden wins Nebraska 2? Right now, I honestly think that's probably the most likely outcome. And because I think that the 2020 election will be very close, I think these will matter a lot more than they have in previous elections. Thank you so much, Chris Harwood, for asking that. Right now, if we look at the demographics about these congressional districts, they are very different. In 2016, Trump won both of them. Let's see, they don't show it here, unfortunately. But the regions that cover the second district in Nebraska are Omaha, and I think it also includes as a Lancaster. So it's kind of like this area. In this area, it's the only county where Trump actually, or that Hillary Clinton could have won. Right now, I actually think that Biden, this tilts towards Biden, just because I think some of the suburban women are going to shift from Trump and maybe go to Biden. But I still think that Maine's second congressional district is probably either a tilt or maybe even a lean towards Trump. I mean, this hasn't been a super competitive district, but I think Trump kind of transformed the electoral map and kind of just changed the landscape and had a distinct appeal to kind of like the white working class, not necessarily college educated. and just kind of transform that whole thing. So thank you so much, Chris Harwood. I hope that I answered your question there. And I'll probably wait for one more super chat, and I'll kind of talk about that, and then I'll be done with this live stream right now. So I'll just be on the wait for that. And then I'll head on out. Let's see. I'll look at the chat for a little while. If we're a body campaign advisor, would you argue for investing in these districts to give an edge of the electoral college, or do you think their one electoral votes matter? I think that both candidates are probably going to invest some money. I think this is going to be the most expensive election in modern history. I mean, we've seen that the Trump campaign is a complete war chest. And I mean, so does the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign has really raised a lot of money in the past couple months that they didn't have before. And I think the reason why the Trump 2020 campaign has so much money is because they started fundraising in like 2017. This was kind of unprecedented in modern history. So I think that's pretty interesting. Okay, right now, shoot. I had another laptop open where I could look at your chats, but it just closed. So I'll probably conclude this live stream. If y'all have any pressing last questions that I can answer, I'll definitely do that. Let's see. Do I think Al Gore would win against George W. Bush in 2004? I think that he probably would. Let's see. Matthew C with the super chat. Thank you so much, Matthew C. Thank you so much. And I think that you're right that Kennedy probably did squander a 10-point lead. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate y'all's time. And I'll be doing one of these later. Please tell me, actually, before I leave, what time are best for the live streams. I kind of have my whole nights normally open. So I can do anywhere from about 8 p.m. Eastern to about midnight Eastern. So just please let me know about that right now before I get off, just while I have y'all in the live stream. And thank y'all so much for the super chats and everything. So you said this time works. Okay, cool. Well, I'll probably do this or maybe a later time too, so I can get some people on the West Coast after they come home from work or school. All right, guys. Thank you for your time, and I'll see y'all later.